My name is Emily, and if you asked anyone around town, they'd probably say I was the woman who had everything. A nice little house painted cream with green shutters, a stable job at the library, a loving husband named Mark, and the sweetest golden retriever you could ever meet, Buddy. On the outside, it all looked picture perfect. But the truth behind my smile was messier than anyone could have guessed. And Buddy, unknowingly, became the shield I used to hide a choice I regret more than anything. Mark and I had been married for 8 years. We were solid, dependable, the kind of couple people thought would last forever. But sometimes forever feels heavier than you expect. Mark worked long hours at the fire station, coming home bone-tired, smelling of smoke and exhaustion. I admired his dedication, but our marriage quietly shifted into routines. Coffee in the morning, dinner at night, occasional date nights that felt more like chores than celebrations. It was during those lonely evenings, when the house echoed with silence except for Buddy's paws on the hardwood floor, that I met someone else. His name was Daniel. He came into the library often, a professor at the nearby college, always asking for history books I never thought anyone read. He was kind, attentive, and for the first time in years, someone looked at me like I was more than just a wife waiting for her husband to come home. Our conversations started innocently. He'd ask about my favorite novels. I'd tease him about his endless stack of books. But soon, he lingered longer. He'd wait until my shift ended, offering to walk me out. And then one day, he bent down to scratch Buddy's ears and said, "I think your dog just gave me permission to be your friend." That was the moment it all started slipping. At first, it was just coffee. We'd meet at the cafe near the park, Buddy trotting along so it looked like I was simply walking my dog. Buddy became the perfect cover. No one questioned why I was at the park so often. No one suspected I was meeting someone else when they saw me tossing a ball for him on the grass. Daniel would sit beside me, laughing as Buddy bounded back with his toy, and we'd talk about everything, dreams, regrets, the lives we wished we'd lived. For weeks, I convinced myself it was harmless. Just companionship, just filling the quiet spaces Mark couldn't. But deep down, I knew it wasn't fair. I knew the warmth I felt when Daniel brushed a leaf out of my hair, or remembered the exact way I took my tea wasn't innocent. One evening, when Mark was scheduled for a 48-hour shift, Daniel asked if he could walk Buddy with me. "It's just a walk," he said. "We'll stay on the trails." I hesitated, then agreed. The autumn leaves crunched under our shoes, Buddy bounding ahead, and for the first time in years, I felt lighthearted, like I was living inside someone else's story. That night, when Daniel gently took my hand as we sat on a bench, I didn't pull away. That was my first betrayal. Days turned into weeks, and soon Buddy wasn't just my dog, he was my alibi. If Mark asked why I was gone so long, I'd say Buddy needed a longer walk. If I came home smiling, I'd claim Buddy had done something funny at the park. My golden retriever became the wall between me and my truth, the innocent soul carrying the weight of my lies. But secrets have a way of clawing their way into the light. One Saturday, Mark surprised me. Instead of going on his fishing trip, he came home early. He found Buddy's leash missing and asked, "Where'd you go?" My heart pounded, but I smiled too quickly. "Just the park." Buddy was restless. He nodded, but his eyes lingered on me longer than usual. The real unraveling happened a week later. Mark decided to join me and Buddy for our evening walk, something he hadn't done in months. My stomach twisted, but I forced a smile and agreed. We walked the familiar trail, Buddy wagging happily, when suddenly Daniel appeared. He hadn't seen Mark with me. He waved, his voice too warm, too familiar. "Hey, Emily." Mark's eyes snapped to mine. The silence that followed was louder than any siren from the fire station. I tried to explain, stumbling over words, saying Daniel was just a friend from the library. But Mark wasn't a fool. He noticed the way Daniel looked at me, the awkward way I avoided his gaze. We finished the walk in silence, and that night, the distance between us felt like a canyon. The next morning, Mark asked me directly, "Are you hiding something from me?" His voice wasn't angry, it was hurt. That made it worse. I wanted to confess, to pour it all out, but I was terrified of losing everything. So I shook my head. No. But Buddy betrayed me, without meaning to. Dogs are creatures of habit, and Buddy had grown used to seeing Daniel. The next time Mark took him for a walk alone, Buddy pulled hard on the leash, leading him straight toward the spot where Daniel and I often sat. And there Daniel was waiting like always. Mark came home that evening with Buddy, his face pale, his eyes heavy. He didn't yell. He didn't accuse. He simply said, "I know." The days that followed were a blur of tears, apologies, and silence. I confessed everything, how lonely I'd been, how I'd used Buddy as my excuse. Mark listened quietly, then asked the question that shattered me. "Why didn't you come to me instead?" I had no answer that could heal the wound. In the weeks that followed, Daniel faded from my life. I stopped answering his calls, stopped walking Buddy near the park where he might wait. But the damage was already done. Mark and I began therapy, trying to stitch together the pieces of trust one had broken. Every time Buddy wagged his tail at me, I felt the weight of my choices pressing harder. Looking back, I realized how unfair it was, not just to Mark, but to Buddy. He was my loyal friend, my constant companion, and I used him as a shield for lies. The regret of that choice will always stay with me. But here's what surprised me most. Mark didn't leave. He stayed. He said, "I can't forget what happened, but I'm willing to fight for us if you are." And for the first time in months, I realized what I truly wanted wasn't excitement or escape. It was the man who had always been there, the man who ran into burning buildings for strangers and came home to me. It took months of painful conversations, rebuilding trust brick by brick. There were setbacks, moments when Mark's silence cut deeper than any argument. But slowly, with honesty and patience, we began to find our way back. And Buddy, innocent, forgiving Buddy, was with us every step of the way, tail wagging, reminding us of loyalty and love. Today, when I walk Buddy, it's with Mark by my side. We talk more, laugh more, and though the scar of my choices remains, it's also a reminder of the lesson I'll never forget. Love deserves honesty, not secrets. And no one, least of all a faithful dog, should carry the burden of human mistakes. I used my dog to hide my affair. But in the end, Buddy became the mirror that showed me the truth I had been avoiding all along. And because of that, I found my way back to the love I almost lost.